For a long time I was hurt about just the way that I was treated because I was dark skinned, and in that hurt it made me feel like my skin was a direct threat to me. I've been kind of going through a lot with my mental health, and I've been realizing a lot of things about myself. For a long period of time, I really didn't like myself or my skin, and I feel like I'm just starting to learn to love myself in my 20s. A lot of it had to do with just internalized feelings on how I saw how the world treated people like me and people who looked like me, and typically people who have the same skin tone as me, dark skinned individuals. I really didn't like looking at myself, or I still struggle with like looking at myself and admiring my body and things like that. But yeah, this is like uncomfortable to talk about because it's just like a difficult and emotional topic for me regarding like my skin color. I feel like I just like really hated my skin for a long time, and would avoid myself in a way because I didn't like my skin, would avoid looking at myself. Yeah, for like when I was growing up, I don't know who told me this, but I had this mindset that like people who were lighter or of other races, people who were black, were automatically more attractive, automatically more successful. I had that understanding like at a very young age, and that was very detrimental to my growth and growing into loving myself or even seeing myself. I still feel like I'm just starting to see myself because of having that mindset. Also, being Nigerian, skin bleaching is something that's very popular in Nigeria, and I feel like that also was a part of why I internalized. That was also something I internalized as like, that's something I internalized as that, okay, there's something about this that I have to change, or there's something about my skin or the way I look that's not acceptable. And having family members who were using creams and things to lighten their skin, it made it really hard to love myself. It made it really hard to love my skin. And even like in high school, when it came to like dating, I felt like, and I also had these conversations with like my other friends that were dark skinned, and I felt like a lot of people who were lighter than me or of other race or weren't black, weren't dark skinned, were pursued more when it came to romance, when it came to success in those institutions. It was not a lot of people who looked like me, so I felt like I had to be that one person, and I had to be that one person who would change everyone's mind. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just gonna be, this video might be very scattered because I'm literally just chilling, and I want to talk about colorism and how that has affected me. in my self-love journey and how I've had internalized self-hate for a long time. I feel like up until I'm 21, but up until I was 20, I feel like I definitely had internalized self-hate. I did not like being dark-skinned. I felt like God's least favorite. Like, why do dark-skinned people get treated like this? And it just made me not like myself for a long time, and it made me have this mindset that other people who were not dark-skinned were better than me or were more deserving of certain things. And I also feel like it's because of the high school I went to. I just wasn't pursued, and I don't know, I felt like that had something to do with it, hating myself, because I felt like I saw other people get other lighter skinned people, non-black people get loved on so much. They got loved on so much, and I felt like, why don't I get loved on the same amount by teachers, by other students? Even in my family, I was like, damn, like, I felt like being dark skinned and having people in my family who bleach their skin, it was just a weird spot to be in as a young dark skinned person, to be surrounded by just either people who also hated their skin, or when I left out my house and went into the world, recognizing why those people hated their skin and why they're willing to use creams and bleach and tone and things like that. And there was a point where I started using like bleaching cream to try to make my skin lighter when I was in high school, but I stopped that because I realized, like, this is the skin I'm in, and the world is just gonna have to deal with it and accept that. And I also have to deal with that and accept it. Like, yes, I'm dark skinned, I deserve to be loved on, I deserve to be cared for, I deserve to be broadcasted. And I feel like I just feel like for a long time I was hurt about just the way that I was treated because I was dark skinned, and in that hurt, it made me feel like my skin was a direct threat to me, and it made me hate my skin, because it was just like, if I was lighter, I probably wouldn't be going through certain things. If I was lighter, I probably wouldn't be treated in certain ways in certain situations. In high school, in my history class, I made a documentary, not a documentary. In my history class in high school, I made a presentation on colorism. And that was such a traumatizing thing for me. I was educating my peers on something that really hit home for me. And I looked around the classroom, and I went to a school that was predominantly, like, it was diverse. It was like some white people, it was a lot of Latinx people, Asian people, and a few black people, but we were like small in number. And I looked around the room, and people just were not paying attention. They were not interested, because colorism didn't affect them. being black was not something that, going through the things that you go through being black in America is not something that they thought about because they weren't black. But I don't know, something about my classmates not really paying attention, like giving a fuck about my presentation, really hurt me. And I feel like after that I felt like just very angry. I felt very angry and like very frustrated because I was like, these people not listening to my presentation, they're not hearing me out. And it was such a good presentation, like it was so interesting. Even my teacher, like I got a really good grade on that presentation because she was the only one basically paying attention because she has to grade it. But yeah, I knew it was such a good presentation. I put so much work into it. I was excited to present it, to teach these non-black ignorant peers of mine about colorism and the things that I go through in that school and like in the world in general. And just to see the lack of just care that they had, or the lack of attention that they felt compelled to give to my presentation, it just hurt. Like it really hurt me. And I don't know, I really like that added to the internalization, like and I feel like it's so important to like uplift and like love on dark-skinned young people, because if we're not loving on them and the world constantly shits on them, how are they supposed to know who they are? And I feel like if I had like, if my parents instilled in me that my darkness wasn't anything that took away from who I am, I definitely would have had like a different experience throughout life up until now. Because I feel like if I was reminded as a young child that my blackness is beautiful, my skin is dark and beautiful, my skin is beautiful, if those things were said to me at a younger age, I feel like going out in the world and experiencing colorism and racism in general wouldn't have affected my self-esteem so much. And I feel like it's so important to tell young, like start them up young, like telling young black people, individuals, that they're beautiful and they're great and they're awesome. I feel like I'm seeing that more now, but when I was growing up it was not a lot of that. And even on social media it was not a lot of that. It was a lot of slandering darker skin people. I feel like now on social media people are speaking up about colorism and educating and stuff like that. But just like understanding the pain that I went throughout my life because I hated my skin based off of how other people reacted to my skin, it was just, I just felt like now looking back, all of it was just so unnecessary, because all I really had to do was just accept that I am dark skinned and I am worthy and love myself. That's where I'm at now. But in the past I wasn't there. In the past I was like, damn, why do dark skinned people have to go through all this bullshit? Why do black people have to go to all this bullshit? Like we still have to go through a lot of I feel like I don't even know what I'm talking about. this video is going to be about me internalizing my internalized self-hate due to me being dark skinned. I feel like growing up I wasn't really in a space where I heard a lot of affirming words, or words of like words that instill confidence in me. I felt like there wasn't a lot of that growing up for me, and I feel like that affected me throughout life up until now, especially when it came to recognizing that I am dark skinned, and recognizing that I am black and African, and recognizing what that meant in the world for me. Realizing what all that meant was really crippling growing up, because in the spaces I was in, there wasn't a lot of good things being associated with being dark skinned, or there was just not a lot of representation when it came to being dark skinned, and I always would end up being the only dark skinned person in certain spaces. So that was like honestly exhausting, and it really made me hate my skin, because I felt like I wasn't desired, I wasn't affirmed, I wasn't protected, I wasn't being motivated and being uplifted like a lot of other people were in the spaces that I was in. For example, I joined robotics club when I was in high school, and I was new to it, and a lot of the people in the clubs were Asian and white, and I was really like, I really wanted to learn. Like, I really wanted to learn. And there was also one black guy, and his ass was not, he was not uplifting or encouraging. He was very much trying to fit in and trying to be loved by the non-black people. And I just felt like in that space I was dismissed, because I was trying to learn robotics, I was trying to participate, but I wasn't necessarily as knowledgeable about robotics as the other kids in the club. And I would like ask the kids like, how do you do this? And they would just be so dismissive and just not willing to help me out. And but they would be interacting with each other and explaining to each other, and I really felt like if I wasn't dark skinned, that would have not happened. They would have not been so dismissive of me. And even the black guy that was like in the robotics, he was also like pretty dismissive of me, and that goes into whole nother topic about how black men don't protect black femme body people or black women, but that's not what we're talking about today. But yeah, my experience in high school really made me hate my skin. And then I grew up in a space, in a household where people use bleach, like bleaching was normalized, bleaching was a thing. You watch Nigerian movies and they're talking about creams and toning and stuff like that. I have family member who tone. Y'all bleaching, y'all are bleaching. There's no such thing as toning, there's no such thing as toning. You're bleaching, it's okay. But yeah, mothers be bleaching and try to cover it up and say that I'm just toning. No honey, you're bleaching your skin. It's okay. If you're gonna do it with pride. But yeah, growing up around seeing women in my family who used creams and stuff like that, seeing the way other dark-skinned individuals were treated, it just made me feel like, damn, like, is this how I'm gonna be treated for the rest of my life? And it really made me hate my skin. It really made me avoid myself, because when I look in the mirror, the first thing I see is my skin. It's there and it's black. And I feel like becoming an adult is something I really have to address, and like really it's something I have to address and unravel for myself, because I don't want to continue on into my adulthood hating my skin, hating the way I look, because of these things that I've internalized. And lately I've been seeing a lot more conversations about colorism, and it's honestly very like uplifting for me. It's very inspiring. It's very nice to know that other people understand the struggle, other people been through the struggle, and it's nice to see black dark-skinned people being uplifted now. And it's nice to know that like I wasn't alone during the times where I felt alone. When I was in high school, I did like a presentation on colorism. I was so like, I put so much work in it. It was such a good presentation, and I presented in my history class. We got to pick a topic, and I don't know why I decided colorism. I guess it was something that affected me so much in high school, because I went to a high school that the smallest population of kids were the black kids. Like, it was mostly white, Asian, and Hispanic or Latinx individuals who attended the high school. But I did a whole presentation on colorism. I was really proud of that presentation, and I presented it to my class, and during my presentation I was getting really emotional about it, and people were just looking at me all confused. I'm like, why is this bitch crying? And that's when I realized how much I've internalized the way I've been treated because of the way I look, and how much it really like hits home for me. Also, during that presentation, at one point I looked around in the classroom and I saw that people weren't really interested. Like, even though I'm getting emotional, I'm talking about colorism, these kids didn't give no fucks. These kids did not care about what I was talking about. They did not care, and that was fine. They were probably just being kids, but that got internalized. I internalized that. Like, I'm trying to tell y'all about what I'm going through and y'all don't even care. Okay, cool. That's also because y'all don't see me. So it made it hard for me to see myself. It made it hard for me to be confident in the things that I do. It made it hard for me to love myself and validate myself and uplift myself, because I didn't see nobody else doing it, so why would I do it? And now I'm realizing I have to do it because nobody else finna do it. But yeah, that was just like my experience with colorism. And I just want to say this I'm saying this and sharing this to say that, like, if you're out there and you're a dark-skinned individual, or you're black and you're struggling with self-hate, just know that you're not alone. And it's like a process. It's a process to see value in yourself when, like, you're so used to people not valuing you. It's a process to love yourself when you're in environments where nobody knows how to love on you, nobody is actively trying to love on you, nobody is affirming you. It's hard to learn how to do those things for yourself. So just know that you're not alone. Fuck 12. So know that you're not alone, and know that, like, you have to know that, like, know to give yourself grace in the process of learning to love yourself. Know to give yourself grace in the process of loving yourself, because it's not easy when you're not used to seeing that. Sometimes you're so used to people treating you like trash because you're dark skinned, that when you decide that you're done dealing with that, you're done allowing people to treat you like that, it's hard to be receptive to the love, to the affirmations, to the upliftment of yourself. It's hard. It can be hard to be receptive of that. Sometimes I still struggle, like, people telling me that I'm beautiful or I'm attractive or what. I still struggle with accepting that, because I was so used to not being that person, or not being in that space where I was viewed in that way. So if you're dealing with colorism, or if you're dealing with internalized self-hate, like, honestly, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself, and continue to try to love yourself. Continue to try to uplift yourself. Continue to see the value in yourself, and continue to share your story, because there's probably somebody out there who has went through what you're going through, who might be still dealing with colorism and internalized self-hate, because I feel like I still deal with that. I still deal with self-hate to a certain degree, and it's something that I'm working on. So yeah, I just wanted to chat. I didn't really have a plan or anything for this video. I just wanted to talk about colorism and how it's affected me, and my own internalized self-hate, and being in spaces that were not safe for me as someone who is dark-skinned. And honestly, if you're a dark-skinned individual, if you're trying to love yourself, or if you're trying to heal from the trauma you faced because you're dark-skinned, honestly, I would say find you some safe spaces. Find you safe spaces, safe people, safe environments that are affirming of you and loving of you, and are ready and willing and happy to uplift you. But yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you would like to support me and my channel, give this video a thumbs up. subscribe, and comment down below your experience with colorism or your experience with internalized self-hate. There's also another YouTuber, we got the same name, Mayowa's World. I think that's what their YouTube channel is called, Mayowa's World. They have a lot of informative educational content on colorism and just living under, you know, white supremacy, capitalism, all that. So you can also check them out if you're looking for more information, or if you're a dark-skinned individual looking for more safe spaces. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, I want to see you next time. Yes, I want to see you next time. But that's all. Peace.